My foxglove is finished, and I hope you'll be as excited to see it come together as I have been seeing it come together while I stitched it. So welcome to Marion's World, and I hope you enjoy the video that's coming up. I dyed more of my citrus silk, the colour that I needed for the foxgloves, and I did it by just putting my silk in a hoop and watering it first, and then I used two different colours of my Inktense. I used a combination of this pink and this greyish sort of duller pink. Both together to me felt like they were perfect. It took a bit of working out with 2 or 3 different sorts of patterns, but eventually I've cut a pattern for my flower out from a bit of old post-it note, and I've just taken it onto a piece of fabric and I've drawn around it. Now the fabric was painted on that side, so I've got a lovely dark colour for the outside of my foxglove flower, but I've taken it out of the hoop and I've turned it so that the paler back side of the fabric is on the top, because I'm going to embroider the inside of the flower first. And so I've just drawn around my pattern. I actually extended it a little bit here because you'll see when I roll it up I like to have an extra bit that'll go underneath, and I didn't think I'd left enough. So I've just been adapting all the time. So I'm in my hoop stand today and I've drawn 5 patterns out. I've got 2 sets of threads to choose from. These are lovely cottons by Kate from Kate's Kloths. I'll leave a link in my description because she has beautifully hand painted thread. I think I'm going to go with this softer one. I like the variegation, but I've also got this pink stranded cotton. I've got a dark red for the spots on the inside, which are a dark reddy purple, and I've got a lovely soft cream pearl cotton too. I think I'll start out with this lovely soft one in my needle, and I've just got a sharp point and a decent eye that I can get my thread through. Thread it up. I'm going to do this middle one first, and the first thing I'm actually going to do is do a tiny running stitch all the way along the outside edge, because it's all right while I can see my drawn pattern for the inside of the flower, but when I turn my hoop over I need to see where my outside pattern is so I can embroider it. So I think the easiest way is to just stitch all the way around with this little tiniest running stitch I can do. And as you can see, I don't need to go down and up like that, sort of down one and then up one, because I've just got enough slack in my hoop that my right hand is pushing up on the fabric and allowing me to just do it in one motion. I've been all the way around and back to the beginning, and then I've running stitched along for a second time to start at the right hand side, which is good for me as a left-hander. You'd be doing it the other way around. The double row of running stitch will just make a nice padded edge, and so now I'm going to go in and just do small blanket stitches right around the edge of this flower. Now there are 5 petals, but they're all fused together. So in a foxglove that is called a corolla. So that's what I'm doing. It's the corolla of the flower. There are actually 1 big petal on the bottom, 2 side petals, and then the top petal is actually 2 fused together. So that's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 petals, and this piece here is just the piece I'm using to overlap, so I don't have any seams or raw edges on the top anywhere. And so I'm just going to blanket stitch round here with a small stitch, and I'm just letting my right thumb help keep the thread out of the way while I take about 1/8 inch stitches all the way along. So the rolled edge of my blanket stitch is going to be holding my fabric and stopping it fraying. And I think what I'll do is I'll just refine my drawn pattern and I'll post it for you on the shop as a free download. And if you want to try making your own foxglove flowers as a stumpwork flower, you'll have my pattern, because it has taken me a few iterations to just get the shape that would roll up nicely. And then if you wanted to wire it, you can definitely be laying the wire in where I've put the double row of running stitch. Oh, that thread is just changing colour perfectly. Look at that, it's going to be just in the perfect place. I've taken my thread to the back at the junction between the third and the fourth petal, or rather the bit that's going to show at the bottom and then the bit that curves over the top, because I'll need to do the blanket stitch for this bit from the other side. But I think I'm going to carry on this side of the embroidery for the moment, and I'm sort of aiming to cover some part of this area here. So all of that will be on the outside and this is the underneath. But at the moment I'll just take my long and short stitch, or as I like to call it, stitches of various lengths, and I'm just going to go up and down and in and out of the blanket stitch edging until I feel I've got enough done. And sometimes I'll go right into it and sometimes I won't, and I sort of put a framework in first because I want the stitches to all go in the direction that I see the lines of the flowers. And if you're new to this type of a thing, it's really helpful to have a photograph if you can't get a real flower. If you've got a real flower in front of you, so much the better. If you can't, there's so much on the internet that you can find. You just need to get that flower on your phone or on your computer, or print out a picture or take a photograph, and then if you can work from looking at one all the time, so much the better. I always just look to make my stitch longer or shorter than the one beside it. So here I could go shorter than that one, which will still be longer than the next door one, or I could go really long, which is what I'm doing. And I know I'm covering up the pink of my lovely painted silk, but if it shows through, it'll show through pink as opposed to white. But I could have just done this embroidery on white fabric just the same. Depends how much of it I end up covering in. This way, if I stop the embroidery halfway up the throat of the flower, it's still going to be pink. Oh, I've unthreaded. That's a good cue for me to just finish that one off and do a bit more embroidery on here. Well, I've finished as far as I felt I needed to go. I've taken my blanket stitch up the side as well, and I'll probably do the same with all of the edge, but I'll do the other bit from the other side. If anybody's looking that far up my foxglove when it's down at the hem of my coat to see I haven't finished the inside, well, good luck to them. I feel that's as far as I need to go, and I don't want to waste my thread. I've changed to a lovely white pearl cotton in the same needle, and I'm about to do the spots that are on the inside. Now I'm just going to sort of do random little white patches that I can then put the dark red on for the spots. And so really I think there's nothing to just copy, it's more like just putting them on in a random sort of a way and making some patches bigger than others so that I can get multiple spots on. And do a bit of an odd shape, really, just like a, not a defined shape, and just come back and sort of wander it about really, but I'll make all the stitches in the same plane as I've got my pink embroidery on, and hopefully I can make a passable sort of rendition of the way the spots are. But I'm going to concentrate them all where they're going to be most visible on that bottom petal. Leave that there while I get the other colour. I've put 2 strands of this dark red stranded cotton in my needle, and I took the strands separately and I've recombined them in the needle, and I'm going to just start and put the little dark spots on. And I'm not sure that I want to do French knots, but I'll do a single one and see what happens. Making your knot right down at the fabric. Oh, actually that's going to be fine. So I'll just make a 1 or 2 right in the middle of the white patches. Just a single wrap, not pulling them totally down into the embroidery. And so I'm just going to do some of these bigger patches. I'll do a few French knots together. Just a single wrap all the time. And wander back across, and then I'll try and end at the same place as where the white is, so I can do a few there. It's the beauty of doing these flowers sort of almost life size, is you've got the scope for quite fine embroidery by going down to maybe 1 or, like here, 2 strands of embroidery floss. You get details that would have been more difficult if this had just been, you know, a little embroidery. I've actually finished 2 of the insides, and for this one I did little tiny straight stitches instead of French knots, just to see which ones I preferred. And I don't think there's much in it really, but I think I prefer the little tiny stitches rather than the French knots. But I don't think there's much in it, and if you are wanting to do something similar, you just choose which is easiest for you to do, or the one you think looks the best. Well, I've got 4 full foxglove flowers, so open flowers, and this one I amended to bring it in shorter because I feel as if I'll want a half open flower, and so I don't need to do all of this on it because it'll be very closed in. So I've just taken the pattern sort of half the size. So I'm now ready to take it out of this hoop and actually turn the fabric round and then put it back in again. So I'll get set up upside down. So now that I've got my fabric on the wrong side, really, there's 2 wrongs and 2 right sides now, because this is the right side for the top of the flower. And so I'm going to embroider from this side, and you can see my messy underneath. Actually, I don't think I'm too messy, but you definitely wouldn't say that was a double-sided embroidery, that's for sure. So now I've got the running stitch outline that I did from the other side, and that means I can see my pattern. This straight piece here is my overlap, but it still needs the blanket stitch on. But this curvy line here, that's the top petal. And so I'm going to do my blanket stitch edge with the same cotton that I've used for the embroidery on the other side, but I actually think it's too pale to do the rest of the flower, and so I'm only putting this in because I want the lovely light colour for the petal edge. But after I've finished this bit of blanket stitch, I'll be swapping to this stranded cotton, which is near to what I've painted anyway, but it'll give me a more solid colour, and it'll be a good contrast with the variegation and the spots on the other side. I've finished one of my flowers, and I know it looks like a total disgrace, but I'm just going to have to trust the process. I finished one off thinking I could try it out before I did the others, and then realised that I'd done the middle one, and so if I cut that out I'd sort of make it more difficult to complete everything. And so I'm just going to, as I said, trust the process and hope that I'm doing it right for what I want it to be. So this will be the top of the flower, and that'll curve underneath, and that's my overlap. And actually I started to stitch the overlap and realised that really I don't want to. I want to make sure there's not really much bulk there, and so I'm not going to stitch the overlap on the other ones. So I've started on this one, and I'm just going to take my thread down just to make sure that I know where my overlap is. Take it right into the bottom of the pale blanket stitch. And now I can just do long and short stitch, but I'm just going to again lay in a framework. I've got 2 strands of this lovely pink, which I feel is a real foxglove colour. Now as I get to this side, what I was doing on this one was flipping my hoop over to check where I was on the other side, and I realised I needed to come in quite a bit more because originally I stopped and I was quite a long way away, so I've made sure that I've come quite close to the front embroidery. And then really it is just a matter of stitching until your shape is filled in, and as long as I line my stitches around where the framework is, I should be fine. This thread's about to run out. As you can see, I'm always using my thread to the very end, and I'm actually going to finish it on the top. If I take you back for the long view, instead of the close-up, you'll see how I more normally stitch when I'm not doing it on the camera, because I'm not normally just having my left hand come up and down all the time. And I'll show you the advantage of working in a hoop on a holder. I've taken the camera around to the side just so my right hand doesn't obstruct the view, and just so I can show you what the difference is of having the hoop in a hoop holder, and meaning that you can free both your hands up because one isn't having to hold the hoop. Now I'm quite happy to stitch in or out, I must admit, but this type of embroidery really is better if you have your fabric stretched. And so even if you didn't have a hoop holder, working in a hoop definitely makes a difference to the way the stitches lie. But as you'll see when I'm putting putting the foxgloves on my coat, I'm not using a hoop then because I don't want to put my coat in a hoop at all, and so I'm quite happy to stitch outside as well. But I just thought you never really see the way I normally stitch because I'm always doing it close up, and because my right hand is going to obstruct everything, I don't normally stitch in this way. But left to my own devices, this is how I would stitch. You find that your dominant hand is good for finding the space underneath even though you can't see it, and your non-dominant hand, which for me is my right hand, is good enough to find the space for the needle to go down. You might find, or you might see that I feel I'm holding the needle a little more awkwardly than my left hand does, but as I say, it's good enough to find the space for it to go down in. And I've just unthreaded my needle there. But your dominant hand is definitely the one that can take the needle from the back and push it back up where you want. Anyway, I'm going to rethread my needle and I'll finish all of them, because then I can cut them out. Fingers crossed that that it's going to work. Now out of the hoop, I'm going to cut them out roughly first. I'm keeping my flipping fingers crossed because just hope. Sometimes I have these ideas and then let's just hope today it's turned out, because I've embroidered for most of the day in the end. As long as it works, then that's fine. If it doesn't work, well, I've wasted a lot of time. But no, I haven't wasted it. I'll have learned something. That's the main thing. I'll have learned what not to do if it doesn't work. So now they're all going to get cut out very carefully with my scissors angled underneath the blanket stitch edge, just as if I had proper stump work with a wire in, which I don't, but I'm pretending I have. And then the other side I'll turn over because I've got the blanket stitch on that way around on this side. And I'm going to have a quick try out to see if it's worked. Just have a quick look to see whether it's worked. Now, the idea being that this is the seam that's going to fall underneath, and I'll just put that down there as if it was. Well, would you look at that? Amazing. Oh no, I need to go further down on this side, I think. Well, that's pretty decent. I think it's going to work. So what I know now is that side is good. My seam will be underneath. This side, I feel as if I need to make my pink go down a bit further. So I think I'll do that on the ones that I haven't cut out yet. I'll just let my top pink go a bit further in. I've got room here, I can take it into there. So I'm going to do that now on all of them. And then probably in the morning, because it's getting a bit late now, in the morning I'll arrange them on my coat and see how I can take it forward. So a bit more pink on all of them and then all cut out. You find me again sitting outside doing my stitching, and I'm hoping to finish the foxgloves on my coat in this video, and I'm hoping it's going to stay nice. It's a lovely sunny day, and so I'm filming early in the morning before the sun gets properly round. Now you can see I've got my coat laid out on the table again on top of a white cloth, and I have some of my flowers all ready to be stitched on, and they have come out really lovely. I'm very pleased with them. So what I've done is I've extended the long and short stitch on this side of the flower, so that's the top side of the flower, so when everything's rolled up the underneath doesn't get seen at all. And so I'm now ready. I've sort of put it, that was where I stopped everything. You can now see the inside of where I've extended. It was there before, going up the transition between, if I can show you there. It was there before, going up the transition between the inside and the outside of the flower. And I've actually done more stitching. None of that underneath will be seen when the flower's rolled up, but it was important to get it for the outside. This is my overlap here. So as I roll it up, I can take my overlap down behind, like that. And then when I stitch that down, it'll turn my little flat piece of embroidery into a lovely foxglove flower. Remember, these have no wires, so they're just going to be just their own You know, the embroidery is going to hold it all up and hold it together, but there's no wires to manipulate anything. I'm just going to do simple overcast stitching, and it's not even sort of fine stitching or anything. This is the piece that's going to be down onto my coat, but I just need to get it together in the first place. Make sure that goes right the way down. The overlaps there because I need not to have raw edges. I don't want my embroidery to be coming out, and I want to be able to stitch it onto my coat without worrying about it. So that's sort of just overcast onto there, and then really that will be ready to apply to the coat. If I just put another one in there, who's going to see that? They're going to be pointing downwards. I don't know why I've gone to the bother, but it's because I like doing it, I suppose. As you get up the flower here, I want them to be the buds getting smaller, and so I did do a small bud, and I embroidered it in exactly the same way. So the stitching doesn't go as far up in the inside because I knew it was just going to get rolled up. And then this one is smaller again, and actually I do need to get it in a little bit more. I'm going to do some small buds just by folding up these pieces of fabric, and there's no significance to the white being on the bottom. It's just that I've cut them out of this bit of leftover fabric that I'd painted, and all I'm going to do is fold this into a little parcel. I'll fold the white up, fold the ends in like that, make like a little rectangular parcel like that, and take a stitch through, and then I'll just keep folding in, and I'll stitch that down. When I turn it to the front, I'll have a little rectangular parcel that will act as a foxglove bud, and the little paleness there works really well, and I don't really need to do anything to the top yet, so I'll just finish that off. I'm going to make a few of them. Well, I've come to the exciting part now, which is bringing the whole thing together. I feel happy with starting my first flower just above where everything else is, and I've got a single strand of the pink that I've used to do this stitching. Just going to bring it up from the back right at the very top. This will be covered by the calyx eventually, and I'm just going to put it there. I think I'm just arbitrarily going to start there, and while my coat is nice and flat on the table, I just use my finger to keep it in there, and just do some overcasts just to get it on in the first place. I'm going to very carefully come through the side and tack the flower onto my coat. So I'll just make a little tacking stitch and hop forward. I'm not bothered about getting lots of stitching on, I just need it to be secure. So as I get to the bottom, I'm just going to make a holding stitch through my blanket stitch edge like that. I don't really feel as if I need to stitch all of that down. I'll not put one in the very bottom of the bottom petal, but I'm going to hop forward to the other side. I'll actually sort of roll that petal down, maybe come up there and then see what it looks like. I'll have to keep putting it down so I can see what's happening. Otherwise, I'll not be able to see it all. It's just all. It's not tricky sewing or anything. It's just being aware of what you're trying to achieve, and just being mindful of where each stitch is going to go to get the effect that you want. So actually my flower is now held down, but I'm going to go back up this side, and I'm just going to do the little holding stitches sort of underneath into the piece that's not going to be seen, and I am making it secure but I'm not, you know, making everything tight. So there's one foxglove flower held down. So I need to finish each one individually because they will be overlapping as they go up the stem. So before I go any further up, I'm going to sew one of these spare leaves on. So I'm going to put them on as the little leaflets that fly away from the side of each flower. I'll just change my needle, change my thread. I'm going to do the sepals. I think I will do them with, let me see what a chain stitch looks like. Going back up there and fill that in. And I'm going to do one straight down, straight on top of my flower. And I'll try not to stitch this top down, so I'm just going up underneath it rather than right through my coat or right through the bottom of the flower. I was going to go flying away from there. Maybe I need a thinner piece to hook that down. It might get half covered, it doesn't matter, it's important for it to be there. I may just crunch it up a little bit, like that. So it makes it look longer. You can do all sorts when you've got these little pieces that are able to be attached. Just bring the point down a little bit, just for a bit of movement. I'm going to do exactly the same with these next 3 or 4 flowers. So there's going to be one here, and then I'll put one here. There's another leaf going to go out from that one. So I'm going to get these next couple on, and so I will be back with you when I'm a little bit further up the stem. I'm getting on well with putting these on. These are still loose, but I'm sort of working out where they're going to be. I think these little parcels of folded fabric are going to work well for the upper buds. However, what I'm back to do is to do these little leaflets that are flying away from the tops of the flowers. And so I used the 2 little applique leaves that I had left over, and I've just done that one. It's a detached picot, so I thought I'd show you how I'm doing that. I've got this lovely soft cotton in my needle, which is the cotton that I've used to do the blanket stitches all the way around all these leaves, so all of these. And so I've stitched this foxglove down, and I'm actually stitching them in a different way to the bottom ones, and so I'm actually attaching them at the top, and then I'm stitching through the inside into the back of the coat, and so it's leaving most of that free, but it is stitched down, it won't come off. And so I'm enjoying that as a better way of stitching down. A detached picot here. I want quite a long one, so I'm going to put my pin in from where I want the picot to end to where I know it's beginning. I'm going to bring my needle up from the back, just into the start where I want it to start from, and I'm going to make the simplest of picots because I want it to be long and thin, so narrow. So I'm going to take my thread up around the pin and back down. I take a little stitch. I'm trying to keep these narrow. You can make detached picots any odd number of threads really. This is going to be a very simple one, so I'm just going to do 3 threads, weaving threads. I've taken a little stitch there, so I'm going to come back up around the pin and now use the heel of my needle to just do normal weaving. Use the heel of my needle to just weave under, over, under, and I'll pull through. And I'll try and keep all of my threads bunched right up to the top, as neat as I can. So on the way back through, I'm going to just do normal weaving. So I've come over that thread. I need to go under it this time. So I'll go under, over, under. Just use my needle to sort of tighten everything up to the pin, pull through. And I'm going to go and work my way right the way down these 3 threads, weaving under, over, under. I'm not going through my coat at all, keeping the pin in all the time, making sure that I just do normal under, over weaving, nothing special at all, and just keep going until I fill this whole thing up. You can see it's quick, so even though it looks like I'm at the end, I'm still going to put another one through there, make sure that they're all nice and tight, and get another one on there, and I think one more. And then to finish it off, I just need to sew down and backstitch to finish, or put a knot in to finish, or however you want to finish. I will leave my thread at the moment because I might hop up to the next bud. As I take this needle out, it's a little freestanding leaf that I can sort of just, you know, curl about, or if I wanted to stitch it down, I could stitch the end in if I wanted to, but I want to just leave it free and easy there. So that's a little detached picot. My next bud is going to be this one, a little half open bud. Sort of might stand it a little bit out because they don't have to always be hugging the stem, they can be a little bit further out. And then this one is going to come onto here, I think. And I'll do their little detached picots. So I'll do a bit more. Well, I'm over the moon to say that my foxglove is completed and I am pleased with it. You'll have to let me know whether you think I have successfully added that foxglove on, because I know that the scale isn't right at all, and I think I'm at peace with that. I think I was a bit concerned whether it was just going to look silly, but I've decided that I'm not bothered. I've decided that it's okay. It's a coat. I'm not doing a botanically correct everything to the nth scale. I could if I wanted to, but I decided I'd rather have the foxglove on than not have it on. And if I had to make it a bit smaller, then that's what I was going to do. I'm going to stand up and show you. I need to be back so far so that you can see it all in one go. And there it is. So I hope you think that's a successful make. I don't know who's ever going to see the underneath of those flowers. Probably no one will ever see that but me. But it doesn't matter. I know it's there. That's the main thing. I've added some grass on as well. I've added some grass through the bottom. Well, I am so pleased that I have that on the coat, and it allows me to hop through what's already on for summer and do some background stitching on there. So some grasses, maybe some extra flowers, buttercups, maybe clover, things like that. Some might be filmed, some might not be filmed. I'm not quite sure at the moment, but I will thicken up that summer area and then get ready for moving from summer into autumn, because there's still a big blank space to fill in. So it just leaves me to say thank you very much for watching. I'm so happy to receive all the lovely comments that you've been giving me about my coat, and it's just lovely to know that other people are enjoying seeing some embroidery of flowers, as real as I can make them, I suppose. And I'm getting excited about getting to the end now. I think I'm just going to be working on this all the time. thanks for stopping by, and I hope you visit me again at Marion's World to see what else is going on here.